Hey there guys, and welcome to Skylar. It's your pal Dirty H back again with another crazy concept city. This was so much fun to build, and beneath this crazy looking facade, the city actually runs like a normal city. There's schools and police and fire departments and all the rest of it, but all hidden pretty strategically. So get yourself comfy and watch how I put this together. I ended up making a brand new map just for this build, albeit very quickly, and it's basically just one big cliff running from one side of the map to the other. And apart from a couple of hours of terraforming and placing some procedural object grey flame rocks in to create cliffs, this map was completed in approximately 4 or 5 hours, so really quickly. So to begin with, I create a really small steep mountain to create the city on, and then I need to get some roads in here to obviously get the people coming in, and I end up spiraling the road up and around this mountain, as the city is going to have people living at the apex or the very top of it, as well as down on the bottom, the lower level. I knew how tedious it could be working at heights from my time in Minos, so placing these roads took quite a bit of time and a little bit of jiggling around, but yeah, Move It's a fantastic mod, that's all I can say. I use the Terraforming network available on the Steam workshop here to get rid of the terrain underneath certain parts of the city, and this will help create the look that the city is floating out on a rock ledge. So as you could imagine, the Terraforming network is a critical part of this build. I use Grey Flame's awesome rocks, again the same ones I've used for the cliffs, for around the city, obviously just so it looks like it's cut from the same cloth, and I've used procedural objects to make these rocks massive compared to their normal size, and the texture still looks amazing, so great job on those. So next you'll see me pull some terrain up here nearby the city, just temporarily at the height we're going to be working on. This is so that I can place buildings and amenities down on that piece of terrain and then just drag it straight over into Skylar and set it in the city. So just quickly, while I'm on the subject of Skylar, I should mention that the city is named after my daughter, and I have to give her a shout out because she loves watching Dad's videos, so yeah, I thought it was an appropriate name for the city as well, so I hope you like that, sweetie. So before I get carried away up here placing buildings and stuff down, I need to get some paths around and get some basic amenities in so that I can get the city running and make sure these paths are getting use. It's no good spending 10 plus hours putting all the buildings up if the citizens and the infrastructure is not working correctly. A lot of reliance will be placed upon the pedestrian paths, so you'll see me take a fair bit of time trying to get those right. You see me put down some buildings here on the terrain we raised up earlier, and these are buildings I've downloaded off the Steam workshop, and I must say some of the buildings are absolutely jaw-dropping. The amount of time the asset creators must have spent is just incredible, and yeah, my hat's off to you guys. The buildings I end up using in Skylar are generally of a high quality texture wise, because with what I'm doing, I'm blowing the buildings up with procedural objects to much larger than their original size, and poor textures can look far worse, obviously blown up even more. So for some crazy reason I also wanted to add a steam train to the city. I just pictured a steam train coming in and out, maybe dropping, visitors off or whatever. It just looked so right in my head, and again I downloaded some steam trains off Steam, and yeah, I'm really happy with how this little station came out. cube services for a lot of the infrastructure in the city. Like here, for instance, I'm using a cube service for water. I also use a cube service for sewage, and yeah, pretty much everything, to be honest. They are really handy and they're easy to hide. So I use the bottom road here that's running around the mountain to put a lot of the residential buildings on, and just use the paths so that they can get from one side of the city to the other. And I also experiment with putting the cube services on pedestrian paths floating out, just to see whether the citizens will come out there or not before I detail it. Then I can connect all the paths up to the road and start putting more residential buildings down, and I use real residential buildings in some areas as well, because they bring in far more people than the cube services. And then it's just a case of jiggling all the paths around, making sure they fit properly, and then I can start putting the surface networks down as a false floor. This cool stone bridge seemed so appropriate to put around the edge of the city, and it looks really great too. So I use procedural objects here to make it a bit bigger and place it around the edge of the city. And I also use procedural objects to put archways underneath the train tracks, as this was a big part of the vision of the train running through the city. And these stone arches look fantastic with the style of building that I've used in Skylar as well. I use 2 more church buildings under procedural objects to hide the train station, and then place in a few more buildings so that it doesn't look so empty. And I'm also careful not to place 2 bigger buildings on the lower level, as we want the skyline of the city to apex to a point. And then I can run pedestrian paths through these buildings with cube services on the path, because that's working really well, and we finish off the lower level. I've hooked the train station up to another train station I've placed right on the edge of the map to bring in some people. Admittedly, it's only bringing in about 6 people a month, but the steam train still looks really cool running around. Now I can work on the very top level, which is very basic. It's got a park up here to generate some tourism and just more cube services and stuff like that. I run a very dodgy road up here also that you will not see, thankfully, because yeah, it ain't pretty, but it does the job. use this stone Paris arch here and procedural objects to make it massive and use it up on this top level just because I thought it created like a really cool sort of mythical look. And then these other buildings that I use for the top levels here are blowing up huge, like as big as I can without distorting the textures too much. I wanted the city to have a really fantasy look and feel to it, and I think these massive buildings stretching way up into the clouds definitely help achieve that. I end up doing very little detailing in Skylar, much like my other concept cities. These are only intended to be just obviously a quick one episode, pretty much just for inspiration for you guys. Maybe you can take these ideas and use them, or maybe they're just opening up your mind to the possibilities of the game a bit more. But it's generally the style of building in these concept cities that catches the imagination rather than the detailing. And the detailing takes far too long, which is more than likely the real reason. I would absolutely love to hear what you guys have to say about the city in the comments. Any thoughts on how maybe we could improve it, or maybe thoughts on what you're planning next. I'd love to hear it. And if you don't subscribe to me, subscribe to me. I'm uploading all the time. Hit the bell notification and get notified when I upload. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.